Hey guys, quick disclaimer about this video. It doesn't go as planned at all. I intended this to be a really different outcome, and I really probably shouldn't have filmed it. Everything, as more things progressively got worse, I continued to keep filming, and well, I hope you guys enjoy this video. Hello, I'm Greg Rutke of Rutke Mods, and welcome to episode 2 of season 3 of my PowerPC series. Today's episode, we're going to continue on with the mystery MDD, but now that we know that it's a dual 1.25 G4, it's a dual 1.25 G4 FireWire 800, but we'll continue calling it the mystery MDD. The mystery MDD and I have been fighting a little bit in the last few days, but everything's good now. In the last 2 days I have cleaned this thing and found a few problems with it. The seller that gave it to me, I'm sure didn't even know there was anything wrong with it, because I didn't know there was anything wrong with it until I started cleaning it. And I don't think it would have caused any major issues that would have alerted anyone that there was anything wrong with it, because it was working fine. But there was a problem, and we're going to cover that in a little bit. But today's episode, I'm going to show you how I cleaned it. Then I'll show you what was wrong with the system as we do the biggest goal of today's episode, and that's overclocking this system, because why not, you know? We're going to attempt to overclock it to 1.5 gigahertz. There's a lot of people out there that say that the 1.25 duals can overclock to 1.5, and since it does have 3 coils on it, this one, not all of them did, I'm pretty sure, but this one has 3 coils on it. It should have better power management, and it should be able to possibly do it, but then again, it's 250 megahertz overclock. It might be pushing it, but we shall see. And to do all this, we'll need a new heatsink, which I have, and we'll need to do a bunch of other things. But anyway, let's just get on with it. So let's go. These power supplies are notorious for just dying. That's it. They'll just stop working. Hey Jay, so I just started filming this mother, and just did the benchmarks on it, have it running great, and decided it's time to turn it on for the before overclock part of the portion of the video. And look at this. I think the power supply just died. Well guys, this might be a really short episode. This thing has started up every single time that I've pressed the power button. And literally when I started filming it, it won't start. And I'm getting this really bad feeling in my gut that it's not going to start again. When I hit the power button to start the next portion of this video, I heard the fan kick on for a brief second, and it just shut off. And since then, it's doing what my old power supply in the 400 did, and in fact this is basically the same power supply. The 400, I actually ended up replacing the power supply again for the 3rd time with one that actually is reliable and actually works. Well, this one's got the other one, and so yeah, I believe one of the rails from the PSU may have blown. I haven't opened it yet, but when you try to turn it on, sometimes the fan will spin for a split second, and you'll see the power light glow red for a split second, then go dim. And yeah, there it went again. I don't know if you could see that. Now it's not doing it. There it goes. Yeah, I think it died. But I'm not going to be deterred. I want to finish this video. So even though I've got another dead power supply, I'm going to pull one, or use my old one that I know at least powered up after playing around with it for a while. I'm going to use that one and try to finish this video. So let's get going. I got it running. Looks like it was the G5 video card and not the power supply. Well, that was unexpected because that card was working fine for the first few times I used it. So yeah, let's just go back to the Radeon 9000. And I put the 9000 back in, and it starts up for a split second, and then nothing. It sounds like there might be a power delivery issue to the AGP slot, which would probably signal the power supply. So, yeah. Here's the FireWire 800's power supply in the FireWire 400, and when I hit the power button, it's dead. So I'm going to pull the power supply out of there because I can't get my other one to start up either, and hopefully the 800 won't fry my only working power supply. Okay, so I wasn't planning on the video to go the way it has so far, because this system, believe it or not, was working 100% fine before all this has happened. So before we go into this in here and all the things I've fixed and stuff, and all the other things that is ailing this system right now, let's quickly show you, so I can get this out of the way, that this is running a dual 1.25 gigahertz 1 megabyte L3 cache G4, and I've already done all the benchmarks on it and stuff, so we're all set there. I'm going to shut this down, and let's get back over to the inside while this shuts down. Now this system, take the fan out here, put that over there. This system, of course, came with that power, heat sink and stuff. We're going to be replacing that, and I'm losing my train of thought at this point because this really isn't how the video was supposed to go, and I'm not thinking clearly. Let's start with the power supplies. So right now, what I'm doing is I'm running the AC Bill power supply from my FireWire 400, aka its third power supply, in this now, and here's the dead power supply that just literally died, what, an hour ago? It's taken that long to get this thing running again. So first off, let's unplug this just so I'll accidentally turn it on. Okay, so yeah, that is my third Samsung power supply to fail in the last year alone. This is getting old. That includes the one that I rebuilt. That one worked about a week. I never told you guys that. It would run, but it would choose when it would like to run, really. And this one, it's a complete dead as a doornail now. Like I said, it will turn on with the video card out of it, and no hard drive plugged in. But then it's kind of a useless system. So the power supply is totally dead. So yeah. Anyway, so you guys saw how dusty this system was beforehand, and yes, there's still a little residual dust I haven't gotten out of it yet, especially in this area, but it's enough where I can breathe. Okay, so it's not too major yet. Plus, I'm not done with this system, although I was getting close until the power supply died. I'll have to have it rebuilt. But anyway, so it was really dusty, and I filmed a time lapse of me dusting it, and I used this really cheap can air duster to dust it, and it didn't work well, and I was outside and it was about to rain, so I was rushing. So you'll see it. I'm not dusting it properly in most people's opinion, and I know I'm not, but I had to get the dust out as quickly as possible without this thing getting soaked in rain. So keep that in mind. So here's the time lapse. Okay, so we're back from the time lapse, and now let's talk about the next thing that happened to this system. And to do that, let's take the CPU out. This is the last time this heatsink's going to be on this system, because we've got a replacement that is a lot better. But before we get to that, the screw's stuck. There we go. Let's get this one out. Should have. Oops. Well, that's not good for the board. I'm sure it's fine. Whoops. Yeah, I'll end up breaking this even more. You watch. But anyway. Get the last screw. Okay. So first off, we'll take this heatsink off. This is one of those crappy heat sinks. It makes good contact now, but it's one of those crappy heat sinks that isn't going to handle the overclock. So we've got a solid aluminum heat sink right here that we're going to use. We'll talk about this in a second. But before we do all that, we're making this into a, well, at least we're going to try, make it into a dual 1.5, just like the Firewire 400 system I have. The thing is, that system over there is running a card that has 2 megabytes of L3 per CPU. This has 1 megabyte of L3 per CPU. So you will see a big difference in score and performance in this, but it will still be a much better increase, and it will work better. But anyway, when I was taking this system apart to clean it even deeper, and I did miss a few things, as you can tell, I forgot the RAM, but I'm upgrading that anyway, and that's coming in the mail right now. Let's get this out of the way. It's coming in the mail, so I'm not too worried about cleaning the RAM now. But anyway, so the G4, where was I? Oh yeah, I was cleaning the system, and I decided I needed to take the whole board out, and it was a good thing because underneath the tray was really dusty and really nasty, and the board had a lot of dust you just couldn't blow out on it. But, you know, I was working on it, and I noticed something wrong with on the bottom of the CPU. There was a brown mark down here, which I've cleaned off, and I thought, well, that's weird. The CPU must have been getting hot or something. Well, I got the whole logic board out, and I was looking at it for Jay Vrye's blog, In fact, guys, check the link down below for Jay Fry's blog. Jay and I have been talking for the last few days just on this alone. We were both working on our MDDs at the same time. He was upgrading his, and he has a whole blog on it. And, as I've mentioned in the past about his MDD, and he had his most recent update, which I'm linking below on the House of Moth page, where he was talking about swapping his MDD's board and stuff. It was a really interesting read, and I was working on this at the same time. His is a FireWire 400, this is a FireWire 800. We were doing comparisons and stuff, and I was looking at this whole logic board. As I'll start showing you in pictures, I noticed something wrong, and as you can see, there was something really wrong. And now, as you can see on the board, there's something that doesn't quite match up, and that is this. As you saw in those pictures, this had blown a capacitor, and the system was running fine. This was the problem I was talking about earlier in the video. The system ran fine. I would have never known there was anything wrong if I hadn't taken the CPU out. And I'm sure the seller didn't know there was anything wrong either. And the power supply thing, I'm sure that there was never any issues. Those things, like I said in episode 20 of season 1, they just randomly die, and it literally randomly just died. So that wasn't the seller's issue either. I don't know why it decided to croak, but it did. But what I had to do is I had a spare MDD board, that first FireWire 400 board I had, that had the broken parts on it. I've been using that as parts for everything, really. And I had a replacement capacitor, which I soldered in, and the whole system ran great. And no issues at all until that power supply. Oh well. So anyway, now let's get back to the CPUs and stuff. Right now, this is this heatsink that came with the system. This won't cool any higher clocked G4s, trust me on that. So, where did I put it? Here it is. We're putting this aluminum heatsink on it. But before we do that, we'll have to modify it to fit. So let's watch the film I did to modify it right now. Okay, so before we overclock the CPUs, I decided that we should probably prepare the aluminum heatsink first. Now, this heatsink I bought before the FireWire 800 because I knew I was going to end up with this. Plus, it's always nice to have an extra aluminum one in case I ended up with another MDD, which I, of course, did. And I got this heatsink for, I think, $10. And I always recommend the aluminum ones because even though they're, you know, aluminum doesn't dissipate heat as well as copper. It's got twice the surface area as the copper one, so it dissipates about the same heat. So, yeah, I'll understand why. I mean, I understand it was probably a high quality thing. Apple wanted to, you know, sell that it was high quality, it would cool more efficiently with it, might be a little quieter and stuff on their higher end 1.42 MDD to have the copper one, but it really wasn't that needed, as I've proved with the overclocked 400 here, FireWire 400. The aluminum works fine, but they made it so you can't even use it on the higher clocked CPUs or even this CPU that's in here. And that doesn't make any sense to me because, if anything, this CPU in here would actually benefit from this. But it's got room for 2 coils right here. And I have already marked the spot right here. I've got to take this chunk out here to about here to allow for the 3 coils. So I got a new hacksaw because I'm too stupid to buy a Dremel-like Dremel tool. I already wore out my old hacksaw, and I used this same type of hacksaw to cut the FW800 400's heatsink, so I know this will do it. It's going to be a challenge. So what the heck, I'm going to film it. So let's get going. Alright guys, welcome to my garage. I'm having a little issues lighting everything because my garage is really dark, but I hope this works. So let's start sawing. Alright, so there we have a chunk cut out of it. We will see if it actually does work. It wasn't pretty, I'm sure, watching in the video. And I marked this one up a lot more than I did the last one. It doesn't look super great, but it was still cool. Fine, I'll sand this down, and we'll see if it fits on top of a CPU really quick. And hopefully we'll be fine. If not, I'll have to keep sawing away at it. So, there we go. Okay, so let's quickly verify that this sits down on the CPU before I actually sand it down. So we'll grab it and line up the posts. And it looks like it's hitting a little bit. I'm not really sure. It looks like it just about cleared it. I will sand that area down a little bit more, but I think it's cleared. It looks like it's not actually hitting the CPU, so we should be all right. But I don't really like how close it is, so I'll shave that a little bit more, sand it down. The next time you see the CPU cooler, it will be on the system. So, well, it will be ready anyway. So yeah. Okay, so there we have it. It officially clears the coil just by a hair, which is plenty enough for me. I may trim it more in the future, but it won't touch the coil and it shouldn't cause any issues. So that's fine with me. It should cool fine. If we take a look at the heatsink, I had to smooth that side down because it got pretty marred up while I was sanding it. And I didn't do much with this. Yeah, it looks scattered, but it's going to cool great, trust me. And I forgot I had a small polishing drill. It's not a Dremel tool, but it's a small polishing drill that managed to round that out and smooth it down some. And it doesn't look awful. And once it's installed onto here, I mean, it doesn't look terrible, and it should cool great. So yeah. Now the modification was successful. I showed you guys what the heatsink looked like when it was done, and it does work now, which is cool. This is nice, and this should work. Okay, it's not as nice looking as the one in my FW800 400, but it will work. So we have a heatsink now, and if you watched in that, yes, it was a little hard to watch, I'm sure, and I didn't think about grabbing a hammer. That's why I was using the channel locks to also hammer it. Those channel locks are pretty heavy duty, so it didn't hurt it. But yeah, I ended up removing this chunk of aluminum out of it, as we can see here, and it should work great. But anyway, let's get on to the part of the film that I'm sure a lot of you guys have been waiting for, and that would be overclocking this G4 to 1.5. Let's hope it works. We will see really soon. So let's go. Okay, so what we're going to have to do to overclock this to 1.5, and I've got this memorized from that guide I used in the other overclock video. We'll have to take the resistors off of here and the resistors off of, where is it? Right here. Okay, and this is a different card, but I remember the banks. So basically, I have to take 3 off here. R2 should be fine. That will clock it to 1.5. 3 off here, and 3 off here, and it should overclock to 1.5. And if anything, if it doesn't work, I could play with the voltage. I probably won't though, but I could play with the voltage to try to get it stable at 1.5, and if that doesn't work, I can clock it down to maybe 1.4 something or 1.3 something. Either way, this card's going not, at the end of this video, this card will be overclocked. I just don't know if it's going to be at 1.5. So let's see what happens. Okay, so I have done it, but I did manage to peel up some pads on here, but hopefully that I don't need them. It looks like it is ready to work though. We will see what happens. Everything seems to be good, so let's get going. Okay, so we'll start off by saying if it bongs. I haven't put the heatsink on, of course. I just want to see if it bongs. So, get this out the way. And let's hope. Yep. It sounds like the overclock is not going to work. I don't really want to play with voltages. It is not bonging. Try it one more time. Unless the speakers are off. There's one way to find out. I'm going to go plug my monitor in. Nope. That means that the CPU is not recognizing. So we'll have to look up the schematic. I'll lower the clock some. So I'll be right back. Well, I tried overclocking the thing to at least 1.33. As we can see, where is it? Right here, I was successful to bridge that stuff. But I should have taken the hint when those pads peeled off there in the first place, that I shouldn't have actually done anything, because my soldering iron was probably messing up. It was. Yeah. So, this card's fried for now. It might be fixable for later. But for now, we're going to put this in here, and I'll have an overclock. It's a Xserve 1.33. It's definitely not what I was planning on doing, and I'm sad. But I think this card's still fixable. I just can't fix it, and I am in the market for a faster one anyway. I just can't find one currently. So, oh well. Let's plug this in and benchmark it for the heck of it. Spoiler alert: this thing's probably quicker, but it's got a faster clock. So, what the heck? I'm really defeated at this point. Anyway, got the Xserve CPU in, and we'll put in the brand new Overkill heatsink. It does not sit flush. Well, it's sitting on the CPU. Don't know why it's not sitting flush. But it's definitely making contact, so we're going to say it's fine. It's just, I guess, when the legs are a little bent. It looks like once I screw it down, it will be fine. It must be the spring pushing it up. Okay, so I'm going to screw it down, put the fan on top of it. We'll run some benchmarks for the heck of it, because I wanted to do it anyway. Man, I'm a little upset. Oh well. It comes with doing this, especially when you are too stupid to realize your soldering iron doesn't work. Oh well, yeah. Let's finish this up. Okay, so we've got the 1.33 single set up here, so let's turn it on and hope it at least starts back up. Oh, before we do that, might help to plug the hard drive back in. I do that a lot, don't I? Okay, now let's start it up. Okay, there's the bong. The DRAM reset itself. There it goes. Okay, so let's see. I will have to iStat menus is probably going to mess everything up. It doesn't seem to like single cores. Okay, we've got 1.33 G4 in here with 2 megabytes of L3 cache, so the L3 cache might help even the playing field some. We shall see. So what I'm going to do is first try to kill off iStat menus. I'm going to run the benchmarks myself, because I'm at this point really, I just don't want to hold the camera anymore. So I will come back with the benchmark results. Alright, so here are the results, and I think the L2 cache did really help the 133 single. As we can see in Xbench, it was closer than I figured it would be. It was a lot closer, but in Geekbench, it doesn't seem to have helped a whole super lot. I'd say it's higher than a lot of systems, but still, it's, you know, 750 to 1085. So yeah, the benchmarks, it's just, yeah. This video, it has been upsetting. And I also found out from looking around and reading more things that the dual 1.25 that was found in the FW800, and I figure the I don't know about the mid 2002, but the one on this was a 1 megabyte L3 cache model with 3 coils on it, where the mid-2003 special built-to-order dual 1.25 had 2 coils on it and 2 megabytes of L3 cache, and for what I've heard, that one was the one that was more overclockable. So I shouldn't have probably tried it in the first place. I'd say it could have probably ran at 1.5, but voltage mods and stuff, I don't know. Hopefully, I'm going to have Jay take a look at the CPU. Hopefully he can rebuild it. And maybe we can do the voltage mod on it. But, you know, this video has been kind of disappointing for me. I am glad I got it mostly clean. But, you know, this video was intended to show you that I had found all the things that were broken on it and fixed it, aka that blown capacitor. And I was going to show you that this thing was running great. It would be easy to overclock, etc., etc. You know, everything seemed to be working fine, and that was the intention of the video, to clean it up and overclock it. And well, the power supply blew, and I fried the CPU. So yeah, this definitely wasn't what was intended, but oh well. You know, this stuff happens with old hardware and a bad soldering iron. So yeah, anyway, I'm a little defeated right now, but I'll get over it. I have to pull the power supply out of this and put it back in my FireWire 400 because I do actually use that almost daily. I use it at least twice a week, so I need it running. This I don't need running, and it can just sit the way it is for now. But that needs to run. So anyway. So that was the disappointing ending of this episode, and I hope you guys at least enjoyed my pain. Anyway, well, thank you guys for watching today's video, and this has been a Rutke Mods video.